नमस्कार। हाँ सर, आपका वेट कर रहे थे।
You are muted.
I'm muted.
Sir, can we start?
Yes, sir, you can go ahead.
Okay. Kanak ma'am, please start.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. A very good morning to one and all present here. Our esteemed chief guest for today, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, Honorable Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. Guest of honor for today, Professor Arun K Pujari, former Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. Professor Neeraj Gupta, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. Dr. Ajit K Patra, Director, Teaching Learning Center, Central University of Rajasthan. Dr. Umesh Gupta, Deputy Director, Teaching Learning Center, Central University of Rajasthan. Seniors, colleagues, and participants joining us from all over the country, on the behalf of Teaching Learning Center, Organizing Committee, and coordinators of the program, we, Dr. Kanak Sharma, Dr. Govind Singh, and Dr. Jai Prakash Tripathi, welcome you all in the inaugural session of 1 week online faculty development program on implementation of New Education Policy 2020, role of faculty members of higher education institutions. As we have already entered into inaugural session, so now I would like to invite Dr. Ajit K Patra sir to present welcome note and to say a few words about TLC. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good morning to all of you. Respected chief guest of the inaugural session, Dr. K. Kasturirangan sir, Honorable Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. Guest of honor, Professor Arun K Pujari sir, former Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. And Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, Professor Neeraj Gupta sir, Deans of various schools, heads of department, officer of the university, fellow colleagues, supporting staff, and all the participants from distant part of the country. On behalf of the Teaching and Learning Center and Central University of Rajasthan, it is my immense pleasure to welcome you all at the occasion of the inaugural session of 1 week online faculty development program on implementation of New Education Policy 2020, role of faculty members of HEIs, starting from 4th of November to 8th of November 2020. Let me briefly introduce this scheme of TLC as a whole and the objective of TLC Central University of Rajasthan. The scheme of Pandit Madan Malaviya National Mission on Teacher and Teaching, with an outlay of Rs 900 crore over the 12th plan period with pan-India coverage, was launched on 25th December 2014 by the Honorable Prime Minister of India. The mission envisaged to address comprehensively all issues related to teachers, teaching, teacher preparation, professional development, curriculum design, designing and developing assessment and evaluation methodology, research and pedagogy, and developing effective pedagogy. The mission has different components such as School of Education, Inter-University Center for Teacher Education, National Resource Center for Education, Center for Academic Leadership and Education Management, and one of the important components is Center for Excellence for Curriculum Pedagogy. And in that, there are 25 teaching learning centers. The objective was to establish 25 teaching learning centers throughout the whole India. And we are proud to be one of the members of this 25 All India Center of Teaching Learning that we have established at CURaj. The TLCs in general aim to promote on continuous basis discipline-specific curricula, pedagogy, learning material, including e-content for use by the teachers in college and postgraduate department. The Teaching Learning Center, Central University of Rajasthan, was established in the year 2017-18 with a vision to support evidence-based teaching and provide diverse opportunity for teachers. It was the brainchild of our former Vice-Chancellor, Professor Arun K Pujari sir, who prepared the original proposal and defended it to get the approval of TLC at Central University of Rajasthan from Ministry of Education. It funded under the scheme of Pandit Madan Malaviya National Mission of Teacher and Teaching. And we envisage to help teachers to modernize their teaching style, inculcating innovative and effective pedagogical practice so they can impact concept and information in a meaningful way and interesting way among the learner to help them to learn more deeply and effectively. TLC promote continuous basis discipline, curricula, pedagogy, learning material for the teachers. Our TLC at CURaj had completed more than 2.5 years and have organized many workshops, more than 14 programs, including workshop or induction program of duration of 2 days to 28 days has been organized at Central University of Rajasthan. In many disciplines such as statistics, pharmacy, computer science, management, more than 400 teachers have been successfully trained through this workshop. Apart from organizing workshop and training, TLC at CURaj has successfully developed a content clearing house software. Again, that was the idea of our former Vice-Chancellor, Professor Arun K Pujari. Under his mentorship, there is a team who have developed the software that help to search the intended MOOCs courses from different online platforms which are available on internet, which can supplement the classroom learning of the students. On behalf of the TLC, once again, I invite all the participants for this particular workshop. The NEP 2020 is the need of the hour, and we are proud to organize such a workshop. And this is our second online training program organized at Central University of Rajasthan. I hope this workshop will be useful and meaningful for you. Thank you all. And I thank you very much for considering TLC CURaj for this particular, or choosing you people for particular this FDP program. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, I would like to invite Professor Neeraj Gupta, Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, the captain of the ship, to kindly give opening remarks and motivate us. Wholeheartedly welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Kanak. Honorable Chancellor Dr. Kasturirangan, respected Professor Pujari, Vice-Chancellors and Directors of various institutions, Deans, officers of the university, all the fellow participants. It's indeed a privilege for us to have Dr. Kasturirangan inaugurating this training program, one of the rarest events that we have. We had a privilege of listening to him. It was probably the first public speech that he made about the national education policy a couple of years back. And now it's an important event that he kindly agreed to our request to inaugurate the implementation part of it. You see, when we have to look in the implementation of it, the role of faculty members of higher education institutions become very, very critical. People would normally tend to perceive policy being kind of implemented in Delhi or capital of any state, but the real warriors are the frontline learners. And in that context, I would compliment Dr. Ajit Patra for conceiving of this program of capacity building of higher education teachers, which is very clearly says role of faculty members in higher education. What is interesting is that as early as 1966, the Kothari Commission also laid an impression that teachers are the most important key in any policy. And I quote, of all the factors which influence the quality of education and its contribution to national development, the quality, competence, and character of teachers are undoubtedly the most significant. That was in 1966. And National Education Policy in 2020 also exhorts that teachers truly shape the future of our children and therefore the future of our nation. So that's a very important role the National Education Policy perceives by faculty members, that they have to create high quality human resources in their classroom, and that is something very, very critical to us. And it's for the first time that the National Education Policy recognizes what they call it as the power of the teacher. And structural systems are proposed which says that how do you attract the bright and talented mind to teaching profession, and how to restore the high respect and status of the teaching profession. So in that sense, this policy is a really path-breaking event for all of us. And I'm sure all the higher education institution teachers will be more than happy to learn this program. Our only wish is that by the end of this program, let this not be a webinar where we just listen to things and do it, but we would like each one of you to develop their own action plan, what they would do at the back end in their colleges where they belong to. And we would like to review some of these things so that we can really make this program worthy for everybody. At Central University of Rajasthan, with your permission, sir, I would like to submit that under the able leadership of Professor Pujari, even when the policy was announced at the draft stage, we started implementing many of the components of national education policy. And to name a few things, the choice-based credit system, the outcome-based education, the learning outcomes, we have had 2 sets of revisions of all the curriculum so that we make it truly a learning outcome-based and employment-oriented. The community service part of it, the fact that the people should be going and visiting the nearby villages, has been made integral part of a credit system of all the programs of the university, cutting across all barriers. That's one major achievement. And similarly, the fitness program also will get a compulsory credit. So that means anybody who gets a degree will have to go through these 2 items. Vocational education, a department has opened, and we propose to make that as an integral part of the liberal education. So vocational education is not a garnishing or a standalone thing. So that's another very major step that took place during Professor Pujari's tenure. And we are all going to be benefited by the vision that he has shown. The multi-entry, multi-exit programs we started sometime in 2015. We have been very successful in organizing it. And in an academic council, the BDES program was approved under the leadership of Professor Pujari, which actually visualized that exit at various levels. So these are some of the things that we are already implementing. And I'm sure, sir, with your guidance, we will continue to do so. And it will be a great achievement if under your guidance, we are the first institution who can say that, look, we have implemented the national education policy in letter and the spirit. So we look forward to your encouragement. And I'm really grateful to you personally and on behalf of the student community, all the faculty members, for encouraging us and accepting our request to inaugurate this session. Thank you so much, sir. Kanak, you may have to unmute, please.
Thank you, sir. You have always encouraged us and motivated us to strive harder in our future endeavors. And definitely, sir, as you said that we, through this faculty development program, we all will try to achieve the set goals. Now, I invite to Dr. Janmejay Pandey to introduce us about Professor Arun K Pujari, our guest of honor for today and former Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kanak. Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. K Kasturirangan, Guest of Honor, Professor Arun K Pujari, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neeraj Gupta, sir, Deans of Schools, Heads of the Departments, Faculty Members, Officers, dear colleagues, and all the participants from different parts of the country. I wish you all a very good morning. I feel honored in having this opportunity to introduce our guest of honor for today's session, Professor Arun K Pujari. He's an academician and an administrator of great excellence. He has 35 years of experience in teaching postgraduate classes in several national institutes, including the Jawaharlal Nehru University, University of Hyderabad, LMN IIT Jaipur, etc. During the period of his academics, he has designed, developed, and taught several innovative new courses. Some of the important ones include databases, theory of computation, computer visions, computational geometry, artificial intelligence, computer-based optimization techniques, knowledge representation, reasoning, machine learning, etc. Apart from regular academic teaching, he has done lots of research. He has supervised 20 doctoral scholars and several master students. Through his research, he has been able to publish several research articles in national and international journals, presented papers as referred conferences. He has executed successfully 11 funded research projects that accounted for more than 2 crore worth of rupees. His excellence was recognized not only in India, but abroad also, in the terms that he was visiting professors at many universities in US, France, Australia, Japan, etc. Apart from his excellence in academics and research, Professor Pujari has contributed immensely as an administrator of higher education at university levels as well as at national levels. He was a professor in computer science department, in Department of Computer Science and Informatics at University of Hyderabad. He was Dean of the School of Computer Science and Mathematics for a duration of 2005 to 2007. Most noticeably, he was Vice-Chancellor at Sambhalpur University, Odisha from 2008 till 2011. And as one of the recent term, he was the Vice-Chancellor at Central University of Rajasthan for the duration of 5 years from 2015 till recently 2020. Apart from his services and contribution at university level, he has been a significant contributor at the national level as well. He has served at many of the high-level committees of Indian higher education, including the Task Force for Higher Education, Government of India. He was a member of the UK India Higher Education Leadership Program. He was a member of AICT National Board for IT Education. He has been a member of National Task Force on Geo-Visualization, which is the Department of Science and Technology Endeavor. He has been a member of Standing Committee on Insurance Regulatory and Development Agency. He is an expert of many other significant, important national bodies. To name the very few I have already mentioned, I would like to highlight that he was a member of the UGC Visiting Committee for the 9th Plan. He has been a member of the Governing Council of many of the institutions. All of these, they highlight the fact that he is an academician as well as an administrator of great excellence. With this brief introduction to our guest of honor for today's session, I would now request our guest, Professor Pujari, to please grace the occasion with his address. Professor Pujari, sir, over to you, please.
Yeah. Professor Kasturirangan, Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan and Chairperson, Drafting Committee of NEP 2020, and Professor Neeraj Gupta, Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, colleagues from TLC and other places from this university and other universities. I thank all of you for giving me an opportunity to speak on this, and also thank those friends who have been giving a very, very elaborate introduction and telling that it is a brief introduction. I have never heard of this much of things about me in last 10-15 years. I don't know, somebody must have picked up all those details and very patiently listing it all. Probably I might have forgotten some of the things also, but then doesn't matter that. And I congratulate this university for conducting such a program. And as usual, this university has been showing that it is one of the first universities to take up the issue of addressing at the grassroots level the implementation of NEP 2020. And as I heard, Professor Gupta was trying to justify and give the reason why it is necessary for the teachers to be aware of what are the details of implementation of NEP 2020, because unless, and I think he is quoting Kothari Commission, but I'm not going into that much of details. Unless the teachers are aware what is mandated in NEP 2020, it will be very difficult to have any implementation which will come from the top and asking the teachers to implement them. So in that process, it is necessary for some organization, and Central University of Rajasthan has taken leadership in this, to make teachers aware that what is in store for them in case NEP 2020 gets implemented from a particular academic year. And there are many things to talk about in this implementation, and this workshop is for sure is going to address each of these issues very specifically. I haven't got a chance to see the schedule, but I'm sure that each issue must be addressed separately and talked about. And it is not necessary that it will be, the issues should be identified based on the headings or subheadings giving in NEP 2020, but issues should be identified based on how that should be implemented. I'm only giving one example of that, is that NEP 2020, if you look at it in a holistic way, it is, rather than talking about a program centric, it is a kind of a individual paper centric. That means you are not going to talk about a package called MA in English semester 1, but you are going to talk about your individual course that, let's say, Introduction to Medieval History as a course, that will be the course centric. And it is, that course need not be attached to a particular program. Course is a course by itself. Now, if this is the case, the fee structure of a student, the student, when he is paying the fees, he is paying the fees based on which course of how much of credit he is going to take. So right now, your university, every other universities, is identifying fee structure based on a particular program of studies. If it is MA English, this much of fees. If it is B.Ed, it is this much of fees. If it is a B.Tech, this much of fees. But tomorrow, if NEP is implemented, it will say that you are going to take course 1, or you are going to take course 2, course 3, course 4, course 5. So each course has an attached fees. The total fees that will be calculated for one individual depends on which are the fees courses he is going to take. Now, are you ready for that? Is this university ready for working out a fee structure based on courses? Now, this is one example which I am telling is nowhere it is mentioned in NEP 2020 document, but still when it is implemented, this may be required. And this is an issue that is going to be trying to be arrived at a conclusion based on all the stakeholders. Let's say the students, parents, teachers, university administration, government, everyone. And if the teachers are not aware, then what is going to happen? Now tomorrow probably I can know about some of my, from my background about this university, is that if the teacher is taking a course today, and if a student has a backlog, then he can take that course in the next year and still he can write the exam. So, but then suppose, let's visualize that a student is a multiple entry, multiple exit student. A student goes away and take up a job, and after 3 years he comes back. And in 3 years it is being taught by another teacher. and your university has changed the teacher subject altogether, the teacher altogether, the syllabus altogether. How are you going to cater for that student who has been continuing a particular course and visualize another course? Now your curriculum design, your fee structure, your courses, everything requires a overhauling if you want to visualize NEP 2020. And that should be the purpose of this course. And I hope that each issue should be taken up individually and can be talked about. I think I congratulate this university, congratulate that such a workshop is being conducted by this university, and I wish them very best, and also hope that they will be exactly addressing the issues which are required. And thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us with your inspirational thoughts. Moving on, now I would like to invite Dr. Umesh Gupta, sir, to introduce us about Dr. K. Kasturirangan, our chief guest for today. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Kanak. Good morning to all of you. Respected Chief Guest, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, Guest of Honor, Professor Arun K. Pujari, sir, Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neeraj Gupta, sir, Dr. Ajit Patra, Deans of different schools, heads of various departments, senior faculty members, all the officers, my colleagues, and all the participants. I am feeling proud to get this opportunity to read the short biography of such an eminent personality, Dr. K. Kasturirangan, who is beyond the boundaries of excellence. Dr. K. Kasturirangan is currently Chancellor, Central University of Rajasthan, Chairman, Governing Board, Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics, Chairperson, NIIT University, Nimrana. He is also member, Atomic Energy Commission, Emeritus Professor at National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bangalore, and Honorary Distinguished Advisor of Indian Space Research Organization. Earlier, as Chairman of ISRO, he oversaw the space program of India between the years 1994 and 2003. He was a member of Upper House of the Indian Parliament during 2003 to 2009, and later as member of the erstwhile Planning Commission during 2009 to 2014. More recently, during July 2017 to December 2018, he was the chairman of the committee that drafted the new National Education Policy. Dr. K. Kasturirangan is a member of all the 4 national science academies and several international academies. He is a member of the International Astronomical Union and a fellow of the World Academy of Sciences. He is the honorary fellow of the Cardiff University, UK, and academician of the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, Vatican City. Dr. Kasturirangan is the only Indian to be conferred the honorary membership of the International Academy of Astronautics, beside being its vice president during 2003 to 2005. He has won several awards, including Brock Medal in 2004, Alan D. Emil Memorial Award in 2004, Theodore von Karman Award 2007, and Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Award 1983, among others. He has been conferred with the highest civilian honors, Padam Shri, Padam Bhushan, and Padam Vibhushan during the year 1982, 1992, and 2000 by the President of India. The Rajyotsav Prashasti during 2014 from Government of Karnataka, and award of Officer of the Legion d'Honneur by the President of the French Republic, France. With this brief introduction of our chief guest for the occasion today, I would like to request Chancellor Sir to kindly grace the occasion with his address. Over to you, Chancellor Sir.
Thank you for that brief introduction. First of all, let me thank the Central University of Rajasthan and its Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neeraj Gupta, and all other academic staff, head of the departments and others for this honor done to me by inviting me to make some remarks in the context of the faculty development. I would like to use this opportunity to greet all of you on this festival season. I'm sure that this university, with the blessings during this period, is poised to rise to higher levels of achievements in the coming years. And I would like to wish you all the very best, and especially we have a new Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neeraj Gupta, whom I know earlier, but now who is at the helm of the affairs. I'm also very happy to see Professor Arun Pujari, the previous Vice-Chancellor with whom I worked for a longer period. And I would like to use this opportunity, first of all, to compliment him for everything that he did for this university. A tremendous growth it has witnessed, it has created a position of prominence and eminence in the context of the central universities of this country, created new programs, some of them are very visionary. And I'm also happy to see that he has already started working with the academic programs, which in a sense represent the several elements of the national education policy, well ahead of many other universities which have started thinking about it. So I would like to use this opportunity to compliment him, thank him on behalf of the university, and wish him the very best in the coming years. The university, as I said, is progressing well. One of the nice thing about this university is the fact that they have already a teachers learning center. The national education policy, if you recall, had already recommended very strongly about a center of excellence in education. I will give a little bit about the center of excellence in education, what we have in mind in the policy. But I know that there are many elements of this which is already mentioned in the earlier introductory remarks by the Vice-Chancellor about this activity of education in this university, something which is well tailor-made with respect to the kind of things that we are expecting once you start implementing the policy itself. And therefore, there is a question of a reorientation and a reorganization or reconfiguration, which is possible within the system that you have already. The Teaching Learning Center is an excellent example. I see some very eminent academicians being a part of organizing this activity within the center. So at the national level also, I would like to mention in the introductory remarks that things are moving on the implementation stage. There are various ways in which this implementation is being looked at by various agencies concerned. There are discussions that are currently going on. I may only mention the last Saturday we had a meeting with the Secretary Higher Education, Sri Amit Khare, with some of us who are a part of the policy formulation, and we exchanged our own views about the way we should go ahead on the implementation because of the kind of things that are still the various approaches that is possible, that are various models that can be adopted, and also the opinions that are aired. I think I would comment on these as a move towards the policies. I would like to express a little more detail about the policy itself, and using that opportunity to come to specifics on areas where we think a certain direction in implementation can be adopted based on the present thinking. But I think we have a long way to go. The policy is not an isolated policy of individual items. I want to emphasize this. And they are interconnected. The process has to be continued from one end to another. And this is a roadmap which gives you an end-to-end kind of a concept in implementing the policy. So one has to look at every element of the policy with respect to how does it implicate or how does it imply with respect to the other elements of the policy. So there is a lot of analysis to be done. We cannot jump into an implementation strategy where we may lose track of the fact that we have this interconnectedness between the various elements of the policy. This includes even the connection between the school education and the higher education. So I want to make this initial remarks because there will be a tendency sometimes to immediately look at it as isolated islands of things being implemented. Please make sure that we make an integrated view of the whole thing, even as you implement specific areas of the policy as a part of the total system. The relevance of education in the present context, I don't know how to say, India has the highest population of young people. In the next decade, nearly 50% will be below 35 years of age, aspiring for high quality education, this demographic dividend has to be taken advantage of. Globalization and demands of a knowledge economy and knowledge society call for emphasis on the need for acquisition of new skills by learners on a regular basis. For them to learn how to learn, this is a critical aspect of it, and become lifelong learners, a critical consideration to be addressed appropriately. All through the policy, you can see this element of thinking very much prevalent in the formulation. Changes in the knowledge landscape, especially science and technology, advances like big data analytics, machine. I don't have to say this to this very erudite audience here. Artificial intelligence all demand skilled workforce, including mathematics, computer science, data science, as well as multidisciplinary abilities across sciences, social sciences, and humanities in a sense, an integrated concept. The education of future need to be reconfigured in order to meet the goals of global education development agenda. This is the sustainable development goals 4 of 2030, where the goal 4 seeks to ensure inclusion and equitable quality education and promote lifelong education opportunities for all. So it is in this connection, I give in the next few slides specifics of the kind of transformation we need to effect in the higher education. I come back to this even though this has been the theme of my talk in many places, only because of the fact that we do find that we get into quite a bit of discussion on these matters even at this stage, because there are subtle points which need to be clarified. There are directions which need to be understood. And therefore, a presentation of this type, of course, I will comment on the implications with respect to implementation, where it is feasible and where there is some level of clarity. I also want to say that I'm not an expert in the implementation part of it. You are all there very much depending on your own local conditions, your own institutional arrangements, and your own institutional strengths. You will come back to this. But important thing about it is that I would like to go through this aspect of the policy itself to make sure that these are the kind of things on which we need to put our emphasis on, and keeping in mind the kind of major topics you've identified in this particular online faculty development program. The revamping and transforming of higher education, moving towards higher education. One of the most important thing, and of course many of the central universities have this advantage, multidisciplinary universities and colleges with at least one or two in every district. That is, we are talking autonomous colleges, and with more HEIs across India which offer minimum of instruction or programs in local and Indian language. We have certainly put emphasis on the local and Indian language, which is also a major topic in the discussion that you are going to have subsequently. Moving towards a more multidisciplinary undergraduate, this is one of the key elements which we have brought up. I'll say a little more about it. This has been also discussed among many educational institutions currently, and they are discussing the wherewithal. How do we want to bring in this multidisciplinarity, even as you give education in different areas, different teams, and different disciplines within the same campus. Moving towards faculty and institutional autonomy, this is something everybody was championing, and we have tried to make sure that this is an integral part of the planning of an institution. Revamping curriculum, pedagogy, assessment, and student support for enhanced student experiences. Something the teachers have to really take note of it, and they have been the one who really made a strong plea with respect to the curriculum revamping or pedagogy and assessment, autonomy, and things of that kind, and reaffirming the integrity of the policy and institutional leadership positions through merit appointments and career progression. I don't have to say again on this, because this is something which is well discussed across the faculty system. Revamping, just to say something more, establishment of a national research foundation is one of the key recommendations that we have made as a part of the policy. One of the things I don't have to say is, in this institute, certainly your institute, the Central University of Rajasthan, certainly has a strong research base. But certainly many of the universities in the state level certainly needs considerable enhancement in terms of the activities, planning and activities related to the research. We have clearly brought out a policy framework for the creation of a national research foundation with a responsibility for funding. I will say a little bit about it later. Governance of HEIs by highly qualified independent boards. Again, the central the institutions, including the IITs and IISc, they have this system, but it needs to be expanded into the larger system of university education. Light but tight regulation. We have tried to make the regulation as simple. There are 4 major areas. It is all there in the policy. I don't want to go into the detail because of the lack of time. Increased access to equity and inclusion, you have mentioned specifically as one of the discussion to be topic to be made. Greater opportunities for outstanding public education, substantial increases in scholarships and things of that kind, disadvantaged underprivileged students, open schooling, online education, open distance education. You are quite well versed with this area, and all infrastructure and learning materials accessible and available. This need to be considerably strengthened in the coming years in order to ensure that there is a totality about equity and inclusion concept. Now I come to the more holistic undergraduate education. The policy aims to promote holistic and multidisciplinary education to generate more imagination and create. This is one of the things that this has now taken center stage in many of the advanced educational institutions, particularly the success of the Ivy League educational institutions in US like Stanford, MIT, have this holistic and multidisciplinary education approach at the undergraduate level. And we debated quite a bit about the way we can bring about that in the Indian university system, and made a strong plea for this. Already the people, various institutions are looking at it in different ways. And your university, of course, has got a very special capability to do this because of the number of subjects you deal with, the type of synergy that you can arrive at, and the internal institutional mechanism to share the resources that you can work out. So these are things that can be worked out in the context of an undergraduate level holistic and multidisciplinary education strategy that you may like to evolve in the coming years. I will say a little more about it later. Liberal education, of course, the reason why we would like to have a liberal education, it explores the remarkable relationship that exists among sciences and humanities, mathematics and arts, medicine and physics, etc., and more generally, the surprising unity of all fields of human endeavor. This is something that is well recognized now, and that is one of the reasons we need to have the multidisciplinarity and the holisticness of education. A comprehensive liberal education develops all capacities of human beings: intellectual, aesthetics, social, physical, emotional, moral, and in an integrated manner. Now, how do we try to translate that at the ground? One is the liberal education with more, but this is the undergraduate strategy, and also for the postgraduate, imaginative and flexible curricular structures. This is something which, once you have an autonomy on the curricular and pedagogical styles, then certainly you can create this kind of imaginative flexible curricular structures, creative combinations of disciplines of study, multiple exits and entry points, master's and doctoral education will provide research-based specialization. This is also the provision in the postgraduate level. The 3- and 4-year undergraduate education with multiple exit options. 4-year, in fact, your previous Vice-Chancellor, Professor Tiwari, did mention about this Pujari, 4-year, 3-year program of bachelor degree, a 3- and 4-year program leading to degree with honors, with research work, and an exit provision as a 2-year with a diploma and a 1-year with a. So you have from 1 to 4 years, a 4-year undergraduate program, exit options are there, entry options are there. And you have to look at it in the context of a very important development that the university higher educational system is coming out with through UGC, which is related to the academic bank credit, ABC system. I'm sure that you're all very familiar with this in the implementation side at your university, but this is something this needs to be integrated, and this is a major exercise that is to be carried out with regard to equivalence, multiple institutions, multiple groups, multiple ideas, and swapping from one culture to another in terms of education. These are all part and parcel of the kind of thing that we are thinking of in a ABC system, the credit bank that we are recommended. This is recommended in the policy, and of course is already there as a part of the UGC system, which is currently in operation at some level. The flexible master's degree, of course, is the 1 of 2 years with 3-year undergraduate, 1 year with 4-year undergraduate, and an integrated 5-year program. The next other part of it is, of course, on the mainstream education, when we move into the professional education, engineering, medicine, and many other kinds of things, the integration of professional education with general education is going to be a major task, but certainly possible if you do it in steps. And here the policy aims to take a holistic approach to the preparation of professionals by ensuring broad-based competencies and understanding of the social human context, a strong ethical response, ethical compass, in addition to the highest quality. So there are 4 elements of the professional education. And if you really look at it, you can, it's very clear that we have been able to give the highest quality of professional capacities. You need to bring in the ethical compass part of it, the social human context part of it, and a preparation of professional by broad-based competencies. These are the kind of additionalities that come into picture. That is where the liberal education concept comes into picture in the context of the professional education. Integration of professional education into the overall system of education is one of the key recommendations that we have made. All institutions offering either professional or general education must organically evolve into multidisciplinaries coming out of this by 2030. First steps need to be taken. Some of the elements I do see happening in the Central University of Rajasthan and some other universities, and particularly in IIT system of institutions. Overall higher education sector will aim to be integrated higher education, including professional and vocational education. Thus, approach will be applicable to all the higher education system across the current streams, which will eventually merge into one coherent ecosystem of higher education. That's what we are expecting by 2030 or maybe 2035. Now, the energized faculty is another important point. I don't have to say much about this. We are going to really debate this question. There are issues. The most important factor for the success of higher education, I don't have to say this here, quality and engagement of its faculty. This policy faculty put the faculty back into the heart of the higher education. Rampant practice of contractual exploitment, these are there in other institutions. Very heavy teaching load. This is one of the things that is of a great concern. We need to have enough time for the faculty to invest in themselves to improve their own outlook, enrichment, and things of that kind. Infrastructural support, faculty recruitment and development. There are very elaborate procedures that we have outlined as a part of the policy, which need to be further elaborated when it comes to institutional development plans, institution, and things of that kind, which will be specific to each of the institutions. Which you will write it down. I'm sure that this is already there in many of the institutions, but this need to be reviewed in the context of what we are trying to say in the policy. Appropriately designed permanent employment, faculty to be autonomous, empowered to make curricular choices. I mentioned about this, and this is what can really make the liberal education approach to education much more effective than what currently is possible. Infrastructure of continuous professional development is the other aspect of it. We need to create this. There is much less than what we expect out of this kind of an activity. We don't establish this, and appropriately design bridge courses for those mid-career professionals to get into teaching. The teacher education, one of the important things that I would like to mention, I've said about the connectivity. The school education, we have strongly recommended. The school teacher should be, the preparation will be done at the multidisciplinary universities. Department of Education will be set up in many universities. The Central University of Rajasthan certainly had the necessary bandwidth to think of this kind of an arrangement, but to offer a 4-year integrated state-specific BEd. The reason why, of course, the teacher education we would like to transfer to the higher education institution is because of the demands of the knowledge spectrum that you need to do with respect to the various subjects. Arts, sports, vocational education, special education, they are to be mainstream as a part of the teacher education. And it will have to have both the disciplinary and the pedagogic teacher preparation as the other part of it. And they have to be brought on par with other undergraduate degrees, which are normally given as a 4-year program in other places like the IITs or Central Universities and other things. So what we have recommended is by 2030, only those institutions which will offer a 4-year teacher education program can offer the 2-year program, and a 2-year program will be used for a lateral entry for subject teachers also. There are many areas of teacher education. We have tried to bring it up, but we are convinced that in an ecosystem like a university with its multiplicity of areas, themes, and capabilities, certainly provide the right type of support for supporting a teacher education department, which will be a part of a department education, specifically designed courses for pedagogy, for mid-career, and the substantial and dysfunctional teacher education institute to be shut down. That's kind of equity and inclusion. Education is the single greatest tool for achieving this thing. We have gone quite a lot in terms of how do we deal with equity and education, inclusion. There are many things like creating various type of institution, addressing the specific requirements of the children belonging to different category, including disadvantaged. The quality of, and we do recognize that the quality follows equity and inclusion, and the policy commits to ensuring equity and inclusion by several means. It is not only in one place we have tried to discuss this question, but whether it is at the school level, at the mid-education level, the higher level, or in the postgraduate level, we have tried to introduce where exactly and what exactly we need to do within the institutions to bring in equity and inclusion at all levels of education. The vocational education, again, a very important part. This was discussed again by the Vice-Chancellor. The Bachelor of Vocational Education program at the undergraduate level introduced by the UGC was in 2013, and it prepares students for the National Skill Qualification Framework levels 5 to 7. The multiple XCN entry option we have introduced to the undergraduate level. These BOC courses will have living at the end of the year, the diploma with the 2 years, or advanced diploma, and also finally an undergraduate degree. Autonomous degree giving colleges we have recommended, as you know, at each of the district level. They will they'll be the main vehicle for integration and proliferation of vocational education. So this is one of the things that, and actually major universities like the Central University of Rajasthan have an important responsibility in trying to nurture these kind of autonomous degree granting colleges in the neighborhood, so that they are able to raise to their standard, get the support on the infrastructure, and also provide specialized support in terms of lectures and other kinds of laboratory facilities for the kind of autonomous colleges as they grow up into a full-fledged system of autonomous degree giving colleges. So we have made a very specific institutional arrangements between the local institutions and the main institution like a university, helping each other in the context of this kind of an approach. Research and training of universities can develop courses in emerging areas, and research, of course, into the national skill qualification and higher education qualification can be funded. I said about the fact that we are trying to establish a national research foundation as a part of nurturing the research in the university system. Now, the promotion of Indian language, I saw that there is also one specific item on your major topic of discussion, which is promotion of Indian languages. I am to say that beside the 3-language formula, which we have already discussed quite a lot, and the importance of the 3-language formula, and the recognition of the fact that the neural network and the neural sciences and the cognitive sciences certainly provides enough evidence to show that between the age of 3 and between the age of 8, we need to take full advantage of the brain growth pattern, which almost got up to 82%, 83% by 8 years, to make sure that the language learning and the numeracy learning is fully taken advantage of. It is in this context, the 3-language formula we have tried to recommend in a sense with all the flexibility that it would demand at the present juncture, and which is now accepted. But then there are the broader issue of India being a treasure trove of languages and culture. So it is extremely important to preserve the truly rich advantages and literature of India. The policy will ensure preservation, growth, and vibrancy of all Indian languages. We have made some very specific recommendations on the question of how do we try to promote languages, focus on language, literature, scientific vocabulary in Indian languages, strong Indian language and literature program across the country, recruitment of language teachers and faculty, and focus. I should say that this is much suboptimal at the present juncture. That's why we have made several important recommendations regarding university to strengthen their educational aspects of the language educational program, and also creating new areas of both teaching and research in the language thing. In fact, I should say that even the major languages, 18 major languages, the 8th schedule is already finding difficulty in terms of promotion. And if you really look at the state of the language in this country, nearly 220 languages have been very much diffused and reduced in their value over the last 50 years because of the lack of proper attention to the education and research in these areas. So these are the kind of background in which we have tried to look at the national policy on language education. National Institute for Promotion of Classical Language is another thing. Language of the Sanskrit particularly, we have said we need to create school of languages. The language learning and particularly Sanskrit learning certainly has been explained not only in the context of an enriched language, a language which has evolved over a millennia, and also a language which has got much more content than the Greek and the Latin put together. It's more than that. It is a question of how do you use this kind of a language, its structure, its grammar, and the scientific way of approach to even in applications like astronomy, physics, and many other kind of mathematics, and so on and so forth. So this is the aspect of it which will also become a part of the educational system. And the new National Institute for Study of Pali, Persian, and Prakrit, Indian Institute of Translation and Interpretation, and review of and expand of mandate of a Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology to include all disciplines and not just physical sciences are the kind of recommendation we have made on the promotion of languages. In conclusion, of course, I have not said everything. I have tried to by and large take the guidance of your own major topics identified in the brochure. But I would like to say that the creation of a Department of Languages, especially education, especially in a place like this, certainly is well within the kind of thing that you are already doing. You have a good vision for this institution. And how do you now try to bring in also the teacher education for schooling, school teacher preparation, and other kinds of research in school, in the educational area itself is one aspect. The other aspect is the National Research Foundation. I mentioned about it. We would like to establish a foundation which will promote research, will nurture research in university system particularly. And in order to do that, of course, the local condition, the research can be in pure science, it can be in applied science, it can also be in areas of engineering technology, it can be in social sciences, it can be in humanities, and many other related subjects, including languages and so on. So it's an all-encompassing foundation capable of supporting this kind of a thing, and it will be a centrally directed program. Probably we have even went to the extent of telling that there could be a constitutional provision for this National Research Foundation. I hope that all the institutions, and particularly universities, will take advantage of this. There will be also provisions for mentoring. The local experts in this area of specific areas of research could come and help to set up the centers. They can nurture it. They can help to even create laboratories and other research methodology program, and finally be a part of a research program itself, including taking students, publishing papers and things of that kind. So the current constraints with respect to people who are otherwise not a part of a research system in the country because they have either overshot the age or other kinds of consideration, certainly are welcome to join this kind of a major effort, because initially we do need as many people, experts as possible to carry out this national research. Ultimately, we have also recommended a National Education Technology Forum. This forum is the one which will try to really identify best technologies to be adopted, and also to analyze the technologies, its multifarious implications with respect to adoption at the educational institution side. So this is going to be it could be a consultative forum, but with capabilities in different institutions, including in departments of education and in various institutions. So I hope that this will also become ultimately an institutional framework to ensure that we adopt the right type of technology, we promote the right type of technology, and we also conduct research so that we anticipate the type of technology that we need for the future. This is to give you a few of the kind of examples of things that we have in mind. Certainly the mechanism for its implementation is currently under discussion, as I mentioned, but I'm sure that the Rajasthan Central University will be a forerunner in implementing some of these in the coming years. I wish the institution, the program, the very best in the present context. Thank you.
On the behalf of Central University of Rajasthan, for me, really, it's a great honor to thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing this occasion with your kind presence and delivering a very encouraging talk. It's really great experience to hear from you. As we have almost reached at the end of our inaugural session, so now I would like to invite Dr. Janmejay Pandit, sir, to pay a vote of thanks. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you very much once again, Dr. Kanak. Honorable Chief Guest of the occasion, Padma Vibhushan Dr. K. Kasturirangan ji. Guest of Honor, Professor Arun K. Pujari. Vice-Chancellor of the Central University of Rajasthan, Professor Neeraj Gupta, sir. Director of TLC CU Rajasthan, Dr. Ajit Patra, Deans of the schools, heads of the departments, different officers of the university, faculty members, and dear participants. I wish you all a very good day once again. And on behalf of the organizing committee of this FDP program, I am here to propose the vote of thanks for this inaugural session. First of all, I would like to express our gratitude to the Honorable Chief Guest and Honorable Guest of Honor for their gracious presence. It has been a privilege listening to both of you, sir. We were privileged that you accepted our invitation and took time out of your busy schedules on such short notice. Thank you very much, sir. Now, I would like to take the opportunity to thank our Honorable Vice-Chancellor, Professor Neeraj Gupta, sir, for mentoring us throughout and guiding us to conduct this workshop under the banner of Teaching Learning Center. It was through your constant support and guidance that we could translate this idea of FDP program into a reality today. Thank you very much once again, sir. We are grateful and we are thankful to all the vice chancellors of various universities, directors of different institutions pan-India for their support and interest in this program. In the same vein, I would also like to express our gratefulness to the experts and speakers who have accepted our invitation to deliver lectures on different modules of NEP 2020 and for its implementation in the higher education institutes. I wish to convey thanks on behalf of the Teaching Learning Center of CU Rajasthan to all the deans, heads of the departments, faculty members, and officers of the university for their valuable support and constant encouragement of this program. It would not be appropriate if we don't thank all the participants from all across country for taking time out and especially participating in this program through the online platform, making sure that they attend this program. We are very thankful to all of the participants. We are equally thankful to Dr. Ajit Patra, the director of TLC, Dr. Umesh Gupta, the deputy director of TLC, and all of the members of TLC coordination committee, most especially the organizing committee members of this particular FDP program, Dr. JP Tripathi, Dr. Govind Singh, and Dr. Kanak Sharma for their efforts in setting up the overall organization of this program. At last, I would like to thank, but not the least, all of the non-teaching staff, especially Gauravji, Rajendraji, and members of the IT cells who have directly or indirectly helped us in the logistics and all the arrangements that were required for getting this workshop started. I hope and wish that this workshop will be beneficial for all of us and would add some positive points in our teaching and our learning process in the days to come, directly or indirectly. Thank you very much. Wish you all have a great day. Thank you. Thank you all. Over to you, Kanak ma'am.
Ma'am, you are not audible. Unmute.
Thank you all for attending this inaugural session. At the end of this inaugural session, we have an important announcement for our participants that after a break of 15 minutes, we will start our first session of the day. So thank you all. Thank you once again.